so I started tinkering with broken skateboards. Inspired by the artist Hiroshi out of Japan. He makes these like gorgeous sculptures out of skateboards, and I just started thinking like, I have a pile of skateboards, what can I do with mine? And first thing I thought of making was a skateboard.
That was George Rocha. I'm Jeff. Welcome to Storied San Francisco, a weekly podcast where San Franciscans from all walks of life share their stories, and you get to know your neighbors. In this podcast, George tells the story of his move to San Francisco. With the help of a few friends and some shovels, he built a pool in the backyard of his outer Sunset rental. Years later, almost by accident and definitely from a habit of tinkering, he started making new skateboards out of used decks. Today, he owns and operates Iris Skateboards, where he recycles skateboard lumber into new boards, pieces of furniture, and even art. Here's George.
So my move into San Francisco story was pretty much on a whim. A friend of mine hit me up. He said he had a room for rent in a house in Upper Haight. Asked me if I wanted it. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, I do. And I was there by like the end of the next weekend,
Did you drive again? Or?
Yeah, I drove. I packed up my truck with my dog and all my important things. Probably 2 surfboards, a bunch of skateboards, some clothes. And I drove out here like straight shot.
You and your dog, solo.
Me and my dog.
Solo with your dog.
I think I did it in like 52 hours. I was just like gunning. I only slept when I pumped gas. I'm serious.
Okay, I actually appreciate that exact number because I've done cross country in 52 hours, but with a friend.
With a friend.
You did it
by myself.
I'm guessing your dog didn't drive.
Yeah. No.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It was very responsible. You know what? I never really drove through like heavy eyes. I wasn't like that. But when I got here, I slept for like 2 days, dude. I was done. I was toast. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, and what year would this have been?
That was 2003.
2003, you're moving to Upper Haight, you said.
Upper Haight.
Okay.
Haight and Schrader. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And at the time, I was building parks, so it didn't matter where I lived, So I was like, yeah, might as well live in San Francisco. $500 a month is what? I mean, I had like 7 roommates and stuff.
Yeah.
In Pawtucket, I was paying $500, but I had my own place, and it was a 2-bedroom apartment.
A palace.
So yeah, then I was like $500 with 6 other roommates, but they were cool people, and it was rad.
Was it with your friend who said he had the room? Like he lived there too?
Yeah, he lived there too.
So you already knew at least one person.
Yep.
Did you already know other people in the city?
Yeah, I knew a bunch of people through skateboarding. I had come to the city a bunch of times to skate, so it was almost kind of like a dream to like live here, but you're like, you never made the move to do it. You're just kind of like always too busy or always like something else in the way. So when the chance hit me like so spontaneously, I jumped at it.
You had visited to skate before you moved here. Can we talk about so? How about your first time to visit?
My first time ever in San Francisco, I jumped on a bus from Truckee because I was living in Squaw. It was like 95, and I just kind of came and explored for the weekend on my own. And I had
your skateboard?
Just my skateboard. And didn't really know many people. I had like one friend, so I couch surfed, but they didn't skate, so I just kind of just skated around and had a blast and kind of did it really like low key because there wasn't any skate parks here at the time, and like I was only like using this Thrasher magazine I had to like as a map. Like, all right, so where's Hubba Hideout and where's like the library and where's all these spots that I see in the magazines, and just go seek them out.
Were any of those not the library, not EMB or anything, but any of the other spots, are they still around?
Hubba's not there. EMB obviously is still there. The library looks totally different.
Different building.
Yeah, a lot of those zones are different. Most of the stuff I was seeking when I came to San Francisco on the bus that time was like Fort Miley, Hubba Hideout, EMB, downhills that you see Tommy Guerrero bombing in all of the Powell videos. I had to find all those because it just looked too fun. So that was pretty much it. There wasn't anything that stood out that was a secret that I had to find. The city is actually very friendly in that way, so.
What were your early years in SF like?
So when I first moved here, my favorite thing to do is just to leave the house and just go immediately be going downhill because I'm in Upper Haight. So that was just like the best thing ever. Like I didn't even really care what happened at the bottom of the hill. I just wanted to bomb that hill, and I'd always end up running into people. And if you don't, you go to the skate shop and you go to Deluxe on Market and you run into some people. And back then, a friend of mine lived right around the corner on the side street, so we'd skate on that street. And yeah, it was awesome. It was just like a playground, and it was like perfect time for me, like in every way. Like I was the right age where, right now I couldn't do that. Like maybe you can. I guess I don't like to say things you can't do it, but it's rough. I'm 44 to go out there street skating, which I still try and do. Like it just looks different. You don't like just, grab your jacket and hit the streets and spend 4 hours pushing around and like mashing around the city. You just go to a spot and then that's it, Yeah.
Anything else to talk about before we get into Iris? About your early years here?
Yeah. So early years, no, there's a lot to get into there. So yeah, the early years living here, I kind of, for like a little more income to afford living here, between like park jobs, I moved pianos. Yeah, and that was really interesting, and it was a really good way to get the lay of the land around the Bay Area. So I learned a lot through that, and one of my friends who also skated, he was also a piano mover as well. So he actually introduced me to some people and showed me some spots. So I wasn't entirely on my own when I moved here. There's the whole skate community kind of like is like that in that way, regardless.
Tight knit.
You're gonna like
support it.
You're gonna meet a crew. That's pretty much what it's like. Yeah.
Were you moving or delivering pianos to anyone noteworthy that?
I was just moving pianos all over the Bay Area. Not really anything like noteworthy in terms of famous people. Just kind of like people who are rich enough to afford buying a $900,000 Fazioli. So
that's where I was going with that.
Yeah.
It's like, does any,
Yeah, no, unfortunately I didn't get to deliver Robin Williams the piano or anyone like that because I would have loved that. Yeah, but no, it was just kind of like I said, delivering rich people their fine pianos.
Right.
Yeah. Through the people I've met in the Bay Area, there's a lot of people who like kind of just like to get their hands dirty and get down in it. So there's a lot of DIY spots like constantly. As soon as one gets like torn out, there's somebody to think about the next one, which is awesome, especially for a city that doesn't have a lot of space. But over the years, I've helped out with DIY efforts in Oakland, and right now we currently have one in Treasure Island. That's really cool, and Lower Bob's over in Oakland is sick. We used to have one near Cow Palace. We used to have one at Moss Beach. Even back in the day when I first started like finding out about skating in San Francisco, there was like the created up Jersey barriers at the end of Market Street. It's almost like a tradition.
I don't. If you don't mind, explain what a DIY spot is, because I don't think everyone's.
Yeah. So, DIY spots are skate spots that skaters create for themselves because of a need to create and a need to skate unique terrain. Not to say like skate parks aren't doing it right. It's just like you're always going to want to skate something else, like. So you could build yourself a structure or an obstacle, call it what you will, a skate park, and you're like, all right, this is cool, but I'm almost like bored of it, and now it's time, I want to build this. I want something like that. It's like, it's hard to explain, I guess. There's no spots that are still around since I visited.
Right. Because that's kind of the nature.
That's the nature of them, and there's like, I think in recent times they stick around longer because public awareness and people really stand in front of the bulldozers now, like Burnside's still there. Burnside's been there for 30 years now? Almost 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah, for real. I think 91 was when they broke ground on that. So, yeah, we still have Lower Bob's, which is one that's going strong. And they've been close, but they stand their ground and they earned it. Treasure Island kind of has more of a backing by the city because they kind of went through the proper, I don't know what you call it, red tape to do it.
Permits and whatnot.
Yeah, so, but I mean, the rule is always the same. It's better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. That's real. You got to start first and then be like, hey, we're doing this. What do you think? You can't just like go to them and ask and not have it started, because you'll never get anywhere that way.
Yep. So, you'll always get a no.
You always get a no.
And so now, do you feel it's a good time to talk about Iris?
Yeah, I mean, after living here for, since 2003 and like building parks and stuff and moving around from house to house, I ended up in this house in the Outer Sunset that has a garage and it has a backyard. First thing I did is build a pool in the backyard. Again, I didn't ask my landlord's permission, but I figured she'd be really cool with it.
Not everyone does that. So
yeah, I mean, it was always my intention to like find a house with a yard that like is just all sand like this yard, because then like, whatever, like you're not destroying like this great lawn or anything. And that's what this yard had, and it's easy to dig with shovels in the sand. So with the help of some friends, we just started digging. And I think I've only lived here for like 4 months when we started like pouring the concrete.
Wait, did you guys dig with the whole thing with shovels?
The whole thing with shovels, 6 feet deep.
Actual fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you can't get machines back here. There's no side yard. There's no way.
Sure.
So, all right. I got the yard. I built the bowl. Skated that for a few years. Just me being who I am, I always like to tinker in my garage. So I started tinkering with broken skateboards. Inspired by the artist Hiroshi out of Japan. He makes these like gorgeous sculptures out of skateboards, and I just started thinking like, I have a pile of skateboards. What can I do with mine? And first thing I thought of making was a skateboard. Make a skateboard out of all these skateboards. I wanted to make something functional.
Had anyone ever done that, to your knowledge, before that?
No.
Recycled a skateboard skateboards into a skateboard?
No one's done that. Pretty much Hiroshi was the only one I knew at the time who was just making sculptures and stuff. But you know how it is, like you start doing something and then you start hearing about, oh, so-and-so is, my friend Lindsay, she's up in Portland doing jewelry out of skateboards. And then some other person, I think at the time, were making stools or something like. So, yeah, like I just started making what I thought would be functional and actually an improvement by being made out of skateboards, not just kind of like make everything out of it. Like what actually makes sense to be made out of it. So
you used the word tinkering. Were you thinking at first you were just going to do this for yourself and maybe your friends at the most? Like, yeah. You weren't thinking, I'm going to start a company.
No, absolutely not. Yeah. I was definitely just making stuff and just, that's the word, tinkering. Who knows? You don't really know where you're going to end up when you start at something like that. You just kind of have a thought, and it's like art. It is art.
Well, then how did it make that leap from tinkering to...
So, I think what happened was people just kept stopping me and talking to me about the skateboard I'm on. And I just figured I'll just make a couple and put them in my friend's store, which is right around the corner. The store called Establish. And go from there. And it's exactly what I did. We had a launch party. I bought the website. It was kind of like a small overhead at the time to like take a chance. So I did. And over the years that just evolved into making like screen print squeegees because I screen print, or making like tap handles because my friend owns a bar and he asked me to. Like it was always like there was a necessity or there was a request behind each new thing. I surf, so I started like making surfboards. So it was just like pure evolution. Organic evolution. Just like there was never like, all right, let's sit down and think what will sell. Like that was never in my thought process. What will sell? I mean, I'm shocked every time someone wants to buy anything off me. Not because I don't believe in it and think it's awesome, but just the fact that there's a market for it, Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How'd you come up with the name Iris? Or why? And why?
I actually took a while to come up with a name. I was just like writing down names, having friends writing down names that they thought would be cool, and just considering, like, I had dozens that I was considering, and I didn't like any of them, but people told me that my boards look like rainbows because they're like, multicolored from the lamination process of old skateboards. So I was thinking, okay, rainbows, or what can I get from that? So I looked up Greek gods because I heard Nike is like the Greek god of winning or athletics or something like that. Mm-hmm. So, and I was like, well, Nike's a pretty cool name, so it worked for them. So I looked up the Greek goddess of rainbows, and it's Iris. She's the Greek goddess of rainbows and the sea. And then I'm Portuguese. Rainbow is also, in Portuguese, is arco-iris. So I was just like, all right, it's got to be Iris. I was like, this just works perfect. It's like, that's it. The rest is history, as they say.
So the universe made the name for you, is what you're saying.
I guess I just tapped into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It fits, you know. Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the future of Iris, the future of you?
So, the future of Iris in terms of like what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep producing what I do, hopefully more of it. I don't really have any like sudden changes going on. I just kind of like want to improve on what I'm already doing, make more skateboards. I've been actually talking to some restaurants about doing their whole restaurant, so that'd be cool. Tables, tap panels, trays, like that. I'm excited about stuff like that, both because it's like the scope of the job and the chance to like recycle that many skateboards. Mm-hmm. Like I did this bakery in Pacifica called Rosalind, and I made a 30-foot countertop for them out of skateboards. It was 296 skateboards it took to make it.
Jesus,
so
is that all?
Yeah, like some people can't even get 296 skateboards, but like being in San Francisco, like I can get that in like 2 months. So that helps a lot too, and I appreciate the skaters in this city. I appreciate my shops, Deluxe and FTC, because they enabled me to be able to do this.
Supplying you with the boards, you mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's cool what you were saying about restaurants and shops and cafes and stuff. Using your work because they're keeping it local.
Yeah.
Too, and independent.
Yeah. So, at first I used my boards and my friends' boards, whatever I had, like just to make like the first stack of Iris decks. But then obviously I had to like get a source. So I went to FTC because I'm friends with those guys, and Deluxe, also friends and great people. And they also do a lot for the city. And I set up collections. Basically, when you go buy a new board, you leave your old board, you throw it away. Instead of throwing it away, you put it in a box, and I come get it. I pick up, like, at Deluxe, I think I go every 2 weeks. FTC, I go every month. And
on average, how many, like, every 2 weeks would you get from each place?
I'd say every month I probably get 100 boards from Deluxe and maybe like 50 from FTC, Sounds about right.
And typically how many, I know you make other things, but typically how many skateboards go into making a new board?
So everything I do here is developed off a stack of boards that I cut up and then kind of make into usable lumber. And a stack is 24 boards. Okay. So out of 24 boards, I can get like 12 skateboards, or I can get a couple stools, or maybe a coffee table. Coffee table is more like 2 stacks. So if you think about it in terms of just like gluing up skateboards one on top of the other until it's like a rectangle that's like 8 inches wide by 32 inches long.
Like a solid block.
Solid block. You slice it into whatever
Glued
you want.
and pressed.
Glued
right?
and pressed.
I've seen that press.
Yeah. So you slice into whatever you want. You want to like make laminates for concave skateboards, you slice it into like a 16th of an inch. Or like surfboards, I use like a veneer on top of foam, 16th of an inch. Or a dining room table would be 2 inches, So it really depends on what you're making. Mm-hmm. And all that's cut here in my garage on a resaw, and then planed, and then cut and done whatever you need to do to make it look like whatever you want it to look like.
It's hardcore recycling, kind of. And it's a one-man operation?
Yeah, I mean, it's a one-man operation for, like, making stuff, but I have friends who help me with the peeling, and once you peel a board, you have to grind the glue off. So I hire friends who need part-time work to do that, because there's a lot to do around here, thankfully. But once I get the boards in from FTC or Deluxe, I bring them to my shop, I sort them based on, like, the shapes, and then I peel the grip tape off, and I glue them up into the stacks.
And then from there it gets cut and shaped into whatever.
Yeah, a multitude of things.
All right, and so for people listening to this podcast, if they are interested in giving you money to make them stuff out of old skateboards, how do they do that?
They can go to irisskateboards.com. There's like a form they can fill out for any like custom stuff that like it just came out of your imagination or furniture. But any way possible, see me on the street, DM me on Instagram or whatever it may be. I'm always down to make stuff. I like getting creative and making things for people, even working with people.
Fuck yeah. Last random question. What's the kind of craziest thing you made out of recycled skateboards?
That's a great question. Craziest?
Have you made a boat? I was thinking boat. When you said custom, I was like,
sweet.
Boat would be rad.
I think the craziest and the thing that like kind of immediately popped in my head was the sculpture I made with Thomas Campbell. It was I think 5 or 6 feet tall, and it was this 3-dimensional, curvy, just wonderful piece out of Thomas's imagination. And we met and talked about it, and he drew it and explained it to me, and I had to like translate that into a sculpture made out of skateboards, and it was awesome. I mean, it really kind of like, I feel like I grew as an artist from that experience, and I feel like I learned a lot, and I'm grateful to Thomas for giving me the opportunity, and him and I became great friends as a result. So I think that's the piece that's actually an emotional piece to me, because I really I appreciate everything about that.
That was George Rocha. If you want to see that sculpture that George talks about, go to our website or our Instagram or Twitter profiles. And join us again next week when we'll hear from DJ and podcaster Dana Keys. Music for Storied San Francisco is by Otis McDonald. Film photography is by Michelle Kilfeather. The show is hosted and produced by me, Jeff Hunt. Our website is storiedsf.com, where you can go to browse more than 100 episodes, check out all of our live events, and visit our store to help support us. Please follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and subscribe to the show on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If that's Apple Podcasts or iTunes, please do us a favor and rate and review what we do. And if you have any feedback for us or suggested guests, our email is storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.